Chris says, longtime listener, recent convert watcher. That must mean that you're on YouTube with us. Chris, if you're here, good to see you. First time caller. He says, thanks for all that you do. I've come to the end of yet another very consistent and fruitful base season with great improvements to show for it, but I'm lacking motivation. I've always pursued the same racing goals every year, with my local mountain bike series serving as C and B races and our XC state championship serving as my A race. But this year, I'm just not motivated to do those events. Don't get me wrong, I'm still willing to do the work, but I feel like I need a fresh start in terms of racing. I'm a mid-pack finisher, so I'm not motivated by a win as it is out of reach for me. So I guess I'm just a bit bored with just finishing mid-pack at the same races every year. What have you done in similar situations? I hope answering this question can be valuable to other listeners because I feel like I can't be alone in this. Yeah, for sure. Not being alone in this, you're not at all, Chris. That happens with plenty of athletes. Keegan, you're taking on like these big, long ultra endurance events. It's a totally different thing for you, even though you've done long things before, but it's a very different focus. Amber, heck, you went from swimming to cycling, but then also within cycling, you changed your focus multiple times. And Ivy, you've done genuinely, I think have you done a downhill race? I don't know if maybe that's the only thing you haven't done.
No, I haven't. That's a bad idea. I'm not going to do that.
Actually, you rip on descents. You'd be really good at it, I bet.
Thanks.
So no, Chris, like this is normal. First of all, to feel like you're, what do we want to call it? Like stagnant, or the racing experience becomes stale for you. Yeah, totally. And don't feel bad about that either. Like that's not something that is on you. That's just the way things go. Yeah, I feel like for me, if I don't find what sparks joy, like to take a Marie Kondo thing here, if I don't find what sparks joy in bike racing, then it is really tough to get motivation. What do we all find for motivation in terms of like, I guess with cycling events in particular? Perhaps you can share a moment when you changed that, when like you started focusing on something differently and why you made that decision. Amber, do you want to lead us off on this?
Sure. I've gone through a few different shifts on this front, in cycling in particular. When I got started, I was, a relative beginner and I wasn't on a team. And so I was really racing for myself and learning race tactics, which was really fun. And I really enjoyed that learning curve. But then I shifted to being on a team and being a teammate and being somebody who was really caring more about what was the result of the team versus my own result. And I know that's hard with mountain biking. Part of me wants to recommend that you give road racing a try and find a team and, work with some teammates. That might not be something that appeals to you. But now, honestly, I mean, one of the things that has been a common thread throughout my whole career was I really enjoy the feeling of being fit. I just do. It feels really good. And I enjoy the process of going from that off-season low level of fitness to a high level of fitness. And so I would encourage you to just think about, what are some other elements about riding that may not even necessarily have to do with racing that might be motivating for you. Right now, my main motivation is that I want to feel fit again. I just want to feel like I can hop on my bike and climb up a mountain and feel really good and snappy doing that. And I definitely don't feel like that right now, but I know that I can get there and I know I'm going to enjoy that process. So it's a really basic thing. And if you're looking at a local race series and you want to go because there's a social component to that, that's great too. You don't necessarily have to race for a win. If it's a similar course that you're racing year after year, you can work on improving your time on that course. I mean, there are other ways of framing even a race scenario where you're not on a team. So I would just suggest get creative and see if something, resonates with you.
How about you, Ivy? What would you have to share in this situation for Chris?
I'm super transparent in my lack of motivation. Pretty frequently, it happens to me all the time. It varies. Sometimes I'll have a really good month or a good week, and sometimes it changes daily. And I have bouts of nihilism and training doesn't matter, nothing matters. And I'll try to get to the bottom of why. Sometimes it's just like a rest thing or a nutrition thing. But if the answer isn't obvious, I try really hard not to dig into why and figure out why I'm not motivated, because that hasn't really worked for me. If it's not there, I don't know. It seems like just like digging in deeper and trying to figure out why I'm not stoked about training and racing and everything doesn't work for me. So instead, I just try to change up, training structure, see if there's something I can change that will make me more excited about riding, or do a different discipline for a little bit. So if I'm doing a lot of training on the road, if that can be a little like mind numbing, and just mixing it up with a different discipline and doing an off-road ride just for one day without structure can really help me sometimes. So, and everyone's different. And for Chris with racing, sounds like they're doing the same races every year. I wonder if they mean, when they say the same races every year, I wonder if they just mean the same type of discipline, or if they're actually doing like the same local series every year. And maybe they just need to mix it up, go find a different race a few hours out of town, make a weekend out of it to keep them excited about something else and other races that are out there.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever covered, Ivy, what made you change from road racing over to cross.
Oh, well, I broke so many bones. I broke like half the bones in my body and my teeth and everything. I was so tired of crashing. And I did really struggle with the motivation to train for what it looked like to be really good at road racing. I wasn't motivated to do it anymore. I didn't want to go ride by myself on the road where I was worried about my safety and with cars. And I wanted to get off of the road, and I just couldn't get motivated to be on the road anymore. And since then, it's now that I do off-road stuff, it's easier to incorporate road rides now that I don't do it all the time, and so the motivation is there again. But yeah, that's how I got into off-road. I just was absolutely cracked on road racing and crashing and kind of the culture of road racing and everything that surrounds the training for road. I was just done, and started just like goofing off on an enduro bike, and was like, oh, I like off-road stuff, and I still like pedaling really hard. So what can I do? Yeah. And then crossing, sometimes XC happened.
Yeah. And so it's normal to have this transition. First of all, Chris, everybody changes. Now, Keegan, in your case, it's like your job to change because it was a lifetime Grand Prix. And I mean, I guess, you could also just continue to pursue XCO too, and that could also very much be your job. But there is this huge opportunity. So, like, what caused you to shift? Is it like, and by the way, I want to normalize this. It's okay for professional motivation to be the goal. Like, it's okay to say there's more money to go here because it's your job. It's like what everybody would do at any job. And it's like, hey, there's an opportunity to get more money over here. So that's on the table. That's okay to say. But then also, like, was there anything more to having you switch from shorter races going into ultra endurance? Maybe this was what you always wanted to do, even though you were doing something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's why I've raced XCO since I was a junior, raced. I just realized the other day, I was like, wow, I've raced like this race, like Mount St. Anne, the World Cup, like the last 10, 12 years in a row. And I'm excited to do something different, but also like, I think the marathon stuff has always kind of suited me a little bit better. Like I'd done, I'm like, man, this is like, I like this. It's more fun to me. I think I'm better at it. But there wasn't really a huge platform for it over here. Like there was a couple of gravel races, there was some longer marathon, like there was the Epic Ride series and like some other random stuff here and there, but it wasn't quite as big. And then all of a sudden, like these gravel races, like just appeared, it seemed like. I guess they'd always kind of been there, but they just like exploded. And I wasn't really sure what I thought of it. I was like, no, it's kind of weird. Like I didn't really seem too into it, but I raced one of them. I did the Belgian Waffle, the Cedar City one, and I had a ton of fun. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like there's tactics, there's a lot of fitness. It's long, it's hard, and it's cool. And I think I love these long races because it's really like so much can happen. And it's, if you don't give up and you just like keep your head down and keep trucking, like you're going to do well, as long as you don't pull the pin, which I think is kind of a cool style of racing. Like it's really difficult. And there's a lot that goes into it. You have to have like a, pretty good repeatable power because there's like a lot of surges, but you also have to have just a big diesel motor for how long these events are. So it's kind of a cool balance of a lot of different things. And there's also still like the technical aspect of like handling skills. And I think even though it's relatively easy compared to mountain bike racing, you're still like, you're going fast. And I think it's almost harder in some ways to rip a gravel road quickly, especially when you're kind of shelled. But yeah, so I'm actually more motivated this year than I have been in a long time. That said, I've never really lacked motivation to train. I love training. I love, sometimes I think it's like a dog. I need my job. I like to go out and train, work hard, get it done.
I think you're built
throw
different.
ball fetch.
Yeah. And, it's like, I love pushing myself and finding like those limits, where like I was thinking that is like, man, I wonder like how many days of a camp like that I could handle before I like completely fell apart, like couldn't even so I guess that's why like I'm kind of excited for this 24 is it's like such a different thing. I love like pushing myself to do new things and some new goals, but I'm still racing some XCO. Like I'm definitely going to go back and try and defend my XCO national title and short track. Like I think it's still fun. I'm just going to pick and choose the events I want to do now instead of force myself like, oh, I have to go do this race to get points. And because to me, that isn't quite as much fun. Like I want to do a race because I want to do it. I don't want to like go because I have to, if that makes sense. And so I'm kind of looking forward to a new challenge and I'm looking forward to it. And then back to the motivation thing with like COVID, like there was no racing and like there wasn't much going on. And I was still motivated to train. So like, I know it's going to help me for next year. So I have to stay fit and like keep building. But along the way, you can find other goals too. Like if you don't want to race, maybe like find an FKT you want to go do, or like get some friends together and go like race on a different circuit. Like I understand, like I grew up racing the same Intermountain Cup series in Utah for, as a junior, we race the same races every year. And it's like, man, I was so excited when I get to leave the state and go do something else, so I understand what you're feeling, but I think if you can, maybe you can find some other events, like maybe there's some gravel races you can go do or maybe there's a road race, like Amber mentioned, like you can learn a lot from those events too. I think like road racing and gravel racing, it'll make you a better mountain biker. You'll learn tactics and all that other stuff. So I think maybe just find something that motivates, or if you don't want to race at all, then just train. Sounds like you're still motivated to train. So just train, and then you're probably going to be just as fit or fitter for your state championship if that's your main target. Like you don't have to race every weekend to be good. So
yeah.
And then they'll start winning and then they'll be super motivated and then the problems solved.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works. The common theme that I'm finding is that, this is absolutely okay as well. But when races are nearby, they're accessible and we do them and it becomes a fun routine and we know the people there and that just becomes part of it. But sometimes maybe we, instead of looking at events that are just close to us or they're there or we've done them before, we should instead look at events that really like actually make us excited or challenge us in a particular way that motivates us. Right. So it's okay to do that. It's okay to change things up. So Chris, and boy, like having an event on the calendar is a great way to manage motivation. The next question from David really goes into more kind of things on consistency and tying into motivation too. But having an event that makes you excited on the calendar is great. Having an event that doesn't make you excited on the calendar makes it really tough to push through those days when you don't want to be out there, or push through those days when, or I guess just give your best on days when it's tempting to just not give your best, Yeah. And then have something that you're excited about. It totally changes it.
Sometimes you build out your race calendar and you're like, oh, I'm excited to do this, this, and this. And then like, as you get closer, you're like, no, that just doesn't sound fun. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like I always do that. I have like my full, like I have an Excel sheet with all my races and then I'll like put them on the calendar. And as you get closer, I'm like, man, this is like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just go train and just go ride with my friends. So like, sometimes you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's just a bike race. Like there's other things you can do, just focus on the really ones you really want to do. And then you'll be more excited for those.
Yeah, for sure.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.